There's this growing feeling that there is something off about our current lives, about our current society, about our current environment. It seems that the institutions in place, the culture we have, and the environment that we're surrounded by is not really giving what we desire as humans. It is not satisfying our inner desires. There's something missing. There's a certain longing that the governments are not acting the way we want them to. The institutions in our society are not acting the way we want them to. They do not represent our values. They do not represent what we believe they should do for us, for the people, for our culture, for our society. There is a sense that people are lost and wandering around somewhat aimlessly and somewhat chaotically without really any unifying meaning or purpose to their actions, to what they do. You look around and you long for leaders, you long for great people, you long for people who are excellent in what they do, and people who embrace certain virtues that you can look up to and feel inspired by and want to embody, want to embrace as something of an idol, something to actually look up to. They are the best of us. They are the greatest of us. They are someone who can bring society on a better path. The leaders we see today do not feel that way. They feel quite contrary to those ideals, to those values that we do desire inside. When you grow up, it doesn't feel like school is turning you into this ultimate version of yourself, someone who is capable of taking charge in life, someone who is capable of critical thinking, someone who can become their own person and contribute in their own way to society, to a flourishing path for society. It seems instead that we're in this kind of stagnant state where everyone is just getting by, not really charging at life, at the world, with a sense of direction, and instead just going along with the rules, with the structures, with the things we have in place in a sort of mediocre, safe, relatively comfortable way. But there's something that feels wrong about that. You want more. You look at this and you think, is this it? Where are the conquerors? Where are the explorers? Where are the great statesmen? Where are the warriors? Where are those great people who always were the ones that brought about a great society, a flourishing for their people, a new era to go into? Where are these people? You walk around today and you look online and you feel like it's not there. There's something missing. And really what we're seeing here is we're seeing this sense that our civilization is in a decline. We see that it is past the peak and it is no longer progressing upwards. It is actually progressing downwards, and downwards at quite a rapid pace, it feels like. And we can look at the structures in society and we can see that they try to justify that society is going up. Maybe the economic number is going up, the GDP is going up, some companies are doing well, or some index is telling us that everyone is happy and everyone is healthy, and those numbers are good and therefore you should be happy about the progression of society. But yet you look around and you live your life and you feel that it's not giving this inner drive, this inner will, this inner sense of being part of something bigger, something greater, something that is actually going upwards, something that looks towards the future in awe of what will come to be, right? Someone who is excited for the next month, the next year, because it will be greater. It's interesting, it's creative, it's innovative, it will bring our people into a better period and towards a better future, and I can't wait to raise my children and bring them into this beautiful future that we're creating for ourselves. This sense is no longer there. This sense is gone. And it really is a harsh reality that you have to deal with. The fact that it feels this way is not an accident. It's not just you. It's not some misperception of the world or of society. It is real. It is the real reality that we're dealing with, but one that is shied away from if you look at official metrics or public information that will always say everything is going well, the leaders are doing the right things, the government is doing the right things, look at how well we're doing. That will always be the intent. But as a person living it, you can feel it, right? And if you look at the metrics, let's say, the real metrics, right? Not whether the GDP number is going up, but we can look at a very crucial metric, which is the reproduction rate, right? The birth rate of a society. If we look at the West, if we look at Western civilization, our birth rates are way below replacement. Now, what does that really mean? It means people are valuing independent desires, so-called desires, temporary pleasures, over the most essential act a human can do, which is to bring a child into the world to ensure continued survival for your family, your genes, your people, and to actually contribute to the long-term success of your group and of your society, right? It is the most essential thing you can do as a human other than survive yourself as well. And yet people are prioritizing travel or pleasure or having more money to spend on yourself or whatever other factors, right? That is the individual sense. And then people also say such things as, now is not a good time to bring children into the world. The economy is bad, or the economic situation is not ideal, or I don't look positively towards the future, and hence I don't want to bring children into that future. I mean, here you have the most essential proof that our current society, our current culture, the current state of Western civilization is not one of prosperity. It is not one on the rise into a beautiful future. It is not one of flourishing, because the people inside it do not want to bring children into it. They do not look positively towards the future. And the values have shifted in a way where your individual temporary pleasures are more valued than having children. I mean, that is insanity, right? That is so anti-human, anti-survival, anti our innate soul desire, that it is almost incomprehensible. But it says a lot about the ideological state that our society has been brought into and the evolution that has happened over the last decades and centuries in order for us to reach such a state. And if you think about the economic argument of children, it is just insane, right? I mean, you are the richest in your heritage of all time. None of your ancestors had more money than you did. And yet you will claim the economy is not good enough to bring a child into the world. Come on. That is insanity. But it's still the case, right? It is still a reality that we see around us. We see that our culture is producing. And it is just a showcasing of the truth that we are at a rapid decline. We are not in a prosperous state. You see it with institutions that are supposed to create people capable of bringing about a greater future. The universities are a crucial such institution. They are supposed to create thinkers, to create innovators, to create the intellectual elite, call it, that will debate the issues that really need to be discussed in order for us to progress in an adaptive way while facing reality. And yet, if you look at university, it is not producing thinkers anymore. It's giving you a diploma for repeating information. And it's reached a point where, everyone can get a diploma, everyone can be satisfied, right? So that institution as a whole has failed its purpose. It is no longer serving what it initially was created to do. And so we see that we are not producing what we need to produce in order to be a flourishing society. And we see a similar sign in the military or in church, where people no longer feel any desire to join the military, to defend your nation and to defend your people. That says a lot about this lack of, call it, care and embracing and value of your people and your society, and even tangible reality, right? Because war will always be part of human nature. And you see it with the church and the lack of religious beliefs, the lack of spirituality among society, in our culture, right? People no longer see meaning in things. They think the materialistic world is all there is and nothing there has any meaning, right? There's no hierarchy of meaning in the materialist world. Everything is the same, everything is meaningless. But when everything is meaningless, you do not truly know how to prioritize. You do not truly know how to value. How can you value the progression of your society, the evolution of your culture, the continuation of your family, of your heritage, of your bloodline, if you do not understand that there is true, deep, soul-aligned meaning to these elements? And the same goes for achieving excellence and living up to a standard and living up to virtue, instead of being satisfied with mediocrity and comfort and safety. Excellence is a virtue. As a man, you should strive for it in any domain. It will make you better. It will make you more purposeful, more fulfilled. It is your duty. It's your responsibility. Standards are to be held up. You cannot live freely and chaotically and not care about anything and assume that society will be flourishing. We need to impose an order on the chaos of reality. That is how it's always been, and yet it seems that it's something that our culture has forgotten or does not care about anymore. Now, we look at all of this, right? We can diagnose the state of our civilization. We can see that we are at a decline, and you can recognize this feeling inside. There's something off, right? And I've tried to make clear a few of the crucial elements of society that are easy to see and that do align with this sense that, yes, we are not at a prosperous stage, and yes, it seems we are going further down rather than up. Now, it can be a lot to take in, right? It is something that you might not even want to admit to yourself, because by embracing this truth of reality, you are not living in this beautiful fantasy anymore, right? And that is a hard step to take, but it is a necessary one if you want to know what is actually the case and what needs to be done. If you are acting off of a fantasy, then you are not acting in any reasonable way at all. You might be going counter to what is actually good for reality because of the fantasy world that you imagine is around you, right? If you continue living on and making it your life task to do something that aligns with a metric the government tells you is performing well right now, then you might actually be fighting against what would actually bring prosperity and flourishing to your people and to our culture. And so it's crucial that you embrace the reality, right? The reality is that we are at a decline. We are in the so-called winter period where we are no longer producing new art movements, new philosophical movements. Our architecture is soulless and will not stand any kind of test of time. We do not embrace beauty. We do not produce excellence. The amount of great leaders and statements and warriors and explorers and adventurers and innovators and creatives that we see in our society is minuscule, because we do not produce them, and we do not embrace them, and we do not praise them to the degree that they embody some of the greatest human ideals that exist. And so we do not do this, right? And it needs to change. So as a man, it is your duty to take on this reality of a perception, right? Embrace reality. Understand what is actually the case, so that you can actually focus your energies towards bringing about a better future, something prosperous. It is essential that you do that. It is essential to take it upon oneself to orient your life around the right path, the good path, the path of a great man, the path of the worthy, the path that has always been the path of the worthy throughout all of history. Great men throughout all of history share common features. They share a common way of acting, way of behaving. And we need that same way to be embraced today by more people, by people who can imagine a great future and what it takes to get there. Because that's the truth of it, is that we cannot go back, right? When you're at a decline, you cannot go back up the steps and assume that you will get a similar society to what you had a few decades ago or centuries ago. That's not reality. What you need is, you need to develop a sense of where we can go next and how we can act to bring about the next wave of prosperity, the next golden age. What can we do to shift the tide, right? To get on a new wave and start rising up again. That's what needs to be done. And there are plenty of lessons in history to understand, and obviously one needs to understand which elements are declining and why they declined, so that you can put the energy where it most matters. But ultimately, you cannot rely on the past to come back, because it won't. You need to see a new future, and you need to start off with the first principles basis, right? Understand what is essential for humanity. Understand what is essential for our culture, for the West, for the civilization, the basic principles that built our great society in the first place and allowed us to be prosperous. Look at the good, look at the bad, and then understand what to embrace, which values to take upon yourself, which virtues, and then start to imagine how to get towards a future that embraces that fully and cuts away the ideals that have led to the decline. And it is possible, right? It's also crucial to know it's not hopeless, it's not fatalistic, and you can't be nihilistic about the state of our society, because the truth is that the people living in it are nihilistic. That is the essence of the ideology. But one who wants to bring about a greater future, I mean, in the toughest times, there is the most opportunity to do good, right? To stand out, to be great. It is a tough time if you want to turn this ship around, but it's a worthy task. It's a great task for any man who wants to be fulfilled, who wants a great purpose. And so you need to understand reality and not get nihilistic about it, and pessimistic. It's just, here's what is, right? This is a diagnosis of it. This is reality. What can we do about it? How can we bring the next golden age, right? The next prosperous time for our people and for our culture? How can we stop this downwards trend? A creative minority can always do this. It always is stronger because it has something new. It has an energy that is currently not being used, that is currently exhausted in the present society. Something creative, something innovative, something willing to radically shift the way we approach society and the world in order to bring something great in the future. So take it upon yourself